Okay, somebody was asking me for some updates. This is one of the Stark Brother trees. I was a little worried about them because they weren't packaged as nicely as I would have liked. One was packed really great and one looked pretty rough, like it'd been squished by the box. But as you can see, this tree is looking great. I've had it in the ground now for what, I don't know, a month, maybe a little over a month. This is my NC1. Let's see that on the tag there. And it's doing good. It's small, but it's in a place where it gets a lot of shade here. So it's doing just fine. I don't even have to put shade around it because above it is that. And it's got a nice canopy above it. And it's happy with that. It does get some sun from the way the sun hits over here. So it will have a little bit of sun, but it's enough that it can tolerate it just fine right now. This is a sunflower that I got from Edible Landscaping. It's done pretty good this year too. It came horrible. I'll just be honest, it looked horrible. It was yellow, all yellow. You can still see some of the leaves don't look as green as the others. Those are ones that hung on through that terrible time. Most of them fell off. What I've noticed with this tree is it's really grown out instead of up. Like it's probably grown a good 6 inches out, maybe more. Maybe some of them honestly could be up to 12 inches out instead of up, which is just fine. It's growing and it's nice and green, and I'm happy with that because I really thought it was going to be dead. It arrived at my house when I was on vacation and I had asked them not to ship Edible Landscaping when I was on vacation. I left a little note, but yeah, they didn't get the note clearly. But anyway, it looks great. You can see I'm really happy with that one too. And this is my KSU Atwood. Again, this one came from Stark Brothers and it's looking happy. It's looking really good. I couldn't ask for better. It's actually grown out a little bit too this year. It hasn't grown tall, but I'm still really happy with it. It's getting nice and bushy, looking good. Over here, I have a Chappelle, and the Chappelle has grown pretty good this year too. I got this from a guy in California. You'll see there's like a little bit of white spots on the leaves. That's because birds love to sit on these tomato cages and poop all over them. But it's all right. You know, they get tiny little spots on their leaves too, like this. And some of them have gotten them a lot worse than others. But so far it looks fine to me, that tree. I'm not worried about one spot. It's fall and we are close to the time that they're going to lose their leaves anyway. Remember I told you about my bad experience with TY Nursery where I bought those 7 to 8 foot PawPaws when I didn't know what I was doing? Well, there's one of them, and I left them all year. They want you to leave them until the fall and then show them that the PawPaw is really dead. Well, the PawPaw is really dead. Do not buy from TY Nursery. That's just been pretty horrible. I'll show you the one they replaced. I bought 2. They replaced one of them right away because the roots were horrible. I mean, there was no taproot, no nothing on these things. I don't know how they expected anything to live. It looked like they'd just been ripped from the ground. And then I'll show you the one they replaced and how bad this tree looks. And I honestly don't even know if this is a pawpaw. I keep looking at this tree like these leaves do not look like a pawpaw. Like, what is that? Does that really look like a pawpaw tree? Maybe it's some weird type that I don't know. That's as big as the leaves get. They're tiny. Oh, let's see if I can focus in on one. There we go. Yeah, they're really small. It's a very bizarre looking tree. There you have it. And that's all the leaves that ever grew. Do you think this thing's going to come back next year? Probably not. Again, that was a nicer tree than the other 2 that I got. It still is alive, but it looks really, really rough. I don't think it's going to make it. Well, no, it's too bad because, you know, that was a pretty nice thick trunk that it had, but they don't know what they're doing with pawpaws over there to package them right. All right, this one is, what is this one, a Wells? No. Prolific? Potomac? Potomac. This one's Potomac. And this one got a little sun scorched. That's why some of the leaves are not happy looking. But overall, it looks pretty good. It's grown. It's got a little bit, like I said, of those spots on the leaves where it's not happy. but the whole plant overall is good. And I put this little guy in front of it just to give it a little more shade from the sun, because I do get sun from that angle that hits it, and it just wasn't quite ready to be out on its own like that. Now, over here, we have a Rappahannock. I just uncovered this one actually this morning because it's fall now. This one was really sensitive, even though it's pretty tall. I mean, it's got to be almost 3 feet tall. For whatever reason, it was more sensitive than the others, and it does get more sun this way because it gets sun all afternoon. So that too was not the greatest for it. So I covered it up. I just uncovered it. We'll see how it does now that it is closer to mid-September. I'm thinking it might be able to tolerate the sun a little bit better, but if not, I'll just cover it back up again. But it looks really good. You can see the leaves look really nice. Very happy with my Rappahannock. It's growing good. And then over here, we have our wells. This is the wells. And the wells overall is doing okay. It does have some leaves that don't look the greatest at the bottom there. The one's really yellow, and I'm not sure what the deal with that is. But it is the end of the year, and I'm not too terribly worried about this one. I think, I know some people will say you're overwatering it, but I don't think that's the case, because I'm really careful about just giving them enough, and they love water, so I don't know that you can overwater them. This one, it looks terrible. I'm just going to call it as I see it. I'm not sure what's going on with this one, but I'll be honest. My neighbors, these people, put stuff all over their yard. You see how terrible their yard looks? They put chemicals on their yard all the time, trying to grow grass. And instead of just like leaving the natural country stuff that grows, which is a bunch of weeds, but it still gives you a green lawn, they instead put a lot of chemicals, and what it does is really kill your grass. And the new stuff is not growing. Maybe it'll grow someday, but not yet. I know they're trying. But in the process of that, I think they're really affecting my trees on this side of the creek. In fact, I've stopped, that's the creek. I've stopped planting trees on this side of the creek because my willow, which I'll show you, is almost dead. And I was really sad about it. But, you know, you can't exactly tell your neighbors to stop putting weed and feed on their yard either. They're trying to grow their grass, so it is what it is. But I think this tree is one of them that's taking a hit. I still think that tree's going to make it, though. I think it's going to be okay. I know it doesn't look great. It's my worst looking one. But I still have a feeling it's going to be just fine. You can see the birds poop all over it, because that's what they do. This one is a prolific. So hopefully it turns out to be prolific. But that's the only one I have right now that's kind of struggling. All right, now we have my Chapelle. I got my Chapelle from a guy in California. And I had shown you this one before. It looks really, really good. I'm happy with my Chapelle. My very sad TY. And remember I told you about on this side of the creek things don't do so well? Well, here's my once beautiful willow, and it's really, really having a tough time here. Most of the leaves have fallen off, but you know, God bless this little willow. It keeps trying. It's got new growth growing. See the new growth? It keeps trying. It's very cute. It does have some leaves trying to grow, but I don't know if it's going to make it, to be honest with you. It's struggling. It's really struggling. And I think I've noticed it's every time that they put the stuff on their yard. See how their grass looks? It just comes through and it kills everything. And I don't know if they're getting a little too close to my yard, but do you see how this is kind of a hill and everything goes downhill anyways to this creek? And in the process, it goes by my willow tree and starts killing my plants. So it really stinks. I've just learned not to plant on their side, and I just won't in the future. Because, I mean, like most of that, a lot of that is mine. But I think people don't quite know where the yard ends and the other begins. And so they end up killing my trees. I don't like it, but what can you do? Okay, here's my poison ivy if you want to enjoy that. We've tried killing this, and it just keeps coming back. You see how we cut it? but it is a prolific little thing. So I'm going to come out here and try to get rid of it again. I've gotten poison ivy from it already. Now this is that really big one I bought, remember? I think it was like a 6-foot tall mango. And look at how nice it looks. The leaves look really good. It's a happy little tree. Still doing really well, starting to branch out and get a little thicker. You see that one on the bottom there? It's about 2 feet out. So I'm really happy with that one. That one actually does have flower buds on it too. I don't know if you can see them. They're really hard to see. Let me see if I can find one and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, here, I found one. I'm going to try to focus in. Right there is a flower bud. You see that little protrusion right here? That's a flower bud. Isn't that exciting? So next year I should have a flower there, which means who knows, maybe I could get some fruit from this tree, but it's still a pretty small tree. I don't know if it would give me any fruit yet, but we'll see. I did just recently, here's my not a PawPaw. This is a sycamore. I love sycamore trees. And I do have this, like I said, kind of this wet area that runs through my yard. It gets really wet here sometimes. It's dry now. But I was trying to buy things that like water to soak it up. But my sycamore, I'm very happy with it. It grew a ton this year. It, you know, it gets ate up by the Japanese beetles. But I have been spraying it to try to get them off. This is an Allegheny. I've heard it pronounced several different ways. I want to call it Allegheny. And I just bought this one. It's probably 4 foot tall. So I'm hoping if it gets any flowers anytime soon, it'll pollinate that mango that I have over there. I don't see any flower buds on it. And then probably be a bit early, but maybe next year or the year after that. I do live in an area with lots of woods. Like there's a patch of woods right there. So, and there's a huge amount of woods behind my house. I don't know if you can see that. That's all woods back there. So there could very well be some wild pawpaws around here. So I'm still hoping that maybe, even if I don't have a second pollinator before one fruits or one buds, then I will hopefully have a wild one around here. I don't know. This is my second sycamore. Oh, that's it for pawpaws, by the way. I have all my other trees now, but that's my second sycamore. I really love my sycamores. And I planted this year a bald cypress. These things get huge. But do you see that lake right across the street from me? I don't know if you can see it back there. All that back there is a lake. It's water. So the water table is really high here, and this can get really super muddy. So I have planted, again, the water-loving trees because my dogs get just mud all over them in the spring in this area. And I'm hoping this bald cypress will grow up and just suck up all that water. It's doing really good. I'm very happy with it. It really got kind of brown in the summertime, and I thought maybe I was going to lose it, but I guess that happens with the heat. And then over here, if you care to look at my other trees, because I'm just a tree fanatic. As I said, I was trying to find things that liked water because the lake is right there. And so we can have some things that soak up the water because the water table's high. And this is just a regular old mulberry. I shouldn't say a regular old mulberry. I think this is the Illinois mulberry, everbearing Illinois mulberry. And then I have another one over here, which is the Illinois, or no, this one is the Russian mulberry. I had one of these when I lived in Michigan. I really liked it. So I'm hoping that this one will grow up. I'm going to fix up the fence a little bit better because it's outgrowing it. So I need to go around it a little bit more. One of the bad things about living very close to woods and very close to water is that the deer come through like crazy. And they've already ate that tree once, so I'm going to try to fix it up today so they can't. All right, so that is how my pawpaws are doing. Somebody asked for an update. They're doing great. I couldn't be happier. I haven't lost any of them. I do have that one that looks a little sketchy, but I still think that one's going to pull through. I think it just looks a little rough. But right now it's doing all right, and I'm very happy with how they're doing and how they're hanging in there. And I'll just plan on this side of the creek from now on and not on that other side, because my poor willow tree looks terrible. And that other pawpaw looks pretty rough on the other side of the creek. So live and learn, right? Okay, that's it for me today.